So today is November 8th. Today is the 23rd Sunday after Pentecost, our 8th month living in a pandemic, 5 days after Election Day, the second Sunday of our stewardship campaign, 3-week Advent. Here we are, gathering the church right now in the midst of all this. In this moment, we carry our exhaustion, our relief, our disappointment, our fears, our hopes, all of it. We bring all of it here where we are together as God's people. And today, in the midst of so much emotion, so much grief and exhilaration, we have this really difficult reading from Matthew's Gospel. Yes, this is the lectionary reading for today, and yes, I most certainly considered picking something else. But for some reason, when I looked at it on Tuesday morning, thinking, should we talk about this in Bible study tomorrow? The parable grabbed hold of me and didn't let go. Now, it's a confusing story. Its meaning is unclear, its interpretations varied, its words are shocking, and yet still, maybe it has a word for us. Especially as symbolic stories like this one can speak to us at a deeper level. So what is happening in this story? First, Jesus tells this parable in the last days between Palm Sunday and the Last Supper. His arrest and crucifixion are imminent. There's tension and foreboding, and all of the previous chapter 24, is Jesus foretelling destruction and judgment. Apocalyptic sayings that don't make a whole lot of sense to us today. But the author of Matthew's Gospel was writing decades after Jesus had died, encouraging his community, reminding them to stay alert to the second coming, to Christ's return, which would happen soon. But as we hear in this parable, the bridegroom is delayed. Jesus is delayed. It's been many years, and he hasn't come. So how should the community act? How should they be in this time? How should they wait? And so the parable of the 10 bridesmaids. It's a harsh one. All 10 of them have lamps, all 10 of them wait, all 10 of them fall asleep. And when the groom finally arrives at midnight, now I have officiated some weddings when we've had to wait around for a very long time for the couple to arrive at the reception because they had to take pictures for 2 hours. But midnight? So when the groom finally arrives, 5 of them discover that their lamps are about to go out. They're not out yet, but they're about to go out, and they brought no extra oil. Why would they? They didn't think the groom would show up at midnight. Those foolish 5 had enough oil to keep their lamps burning all those hours as it was, but now their flames are sputtering. Give us some of your oil, they cry. Help us out. Share with us. We are your friends, your neighbors, your sisters. The party is about to begin and we should be there. We just need a little bit of help. Who knew we'd have to wait so many hours? Help us and bring us with you through those doors. Bring us with you into the banquet. The 5 wise bridesmaids, they refuse to share. They say, go get your own oil. There will not be enough for all of us. There will not be enough. So we will look out for ourselves. We will hold on to what is ours, even though you are our friends, our neighbors, our sisters. Go by your own, take care of yourselves. You are not our responsibility. And so the 5 foolish ones leave at midnight to buy some oil. Meanwhile, the groom arrives and takes the 5 wise bridesmaids into the banquet, and the door is shut. They felt the need to close the door to keep the others out. The 5 foolish return with their oil, and they find the door closed. The celebration for which they waited hours and hours, to which they were invited, has started without them. So they cry for the door to be opened. We're here, let us in. It's us, your friends, your neighbors, your sisters. Now we have oil. Now our lamps are lit. Now we're ready. We did what you told us to do. But the door remains closed. And from behind the closed door, the groom says, I don't know you. I reject you. I renounce you. I'm keeping this door closed. Even though you are my friends, my neighbors, my sisters, now I say, I don't know you. 10 women, all were bridesmaids for the wedding, all invited to the same feast, all have their lamps, all having to wait, all falling asleep. Those 10 bridesmaids, once together, are now separated, divided. Half of them shunning the others, refusing to open the door, refusing even to recognize them, to see them. So, today, I reject this parable. I reject it. I reject the dividing of the bridesmaids. I reject the 5 wise not helping the foolish. I reject the breakdown of community. I reject that the door stays closed. Yes, I know it's an apocalyptic parable and it's meant to encourage us to stay awake for the second coming of Christ and the imminent parousia, blah, 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 blah. Yes, today, I don't care. I reject this image for us today. Because we have enough of it already. I'm sorry. We don't need any more closed doors. We don't need anything else dividing us in half. We don't need any more fending for ourselves or blaming or hoarding. We need doors flung wide open. We need big banquet tables for everyone. We need plenty of oil to go around. We need lamps shining brightly for all of us. We need wicks trimmed for everyone who's in darkness. We need extravagant welcome. We need sharing and generosity. We need doors flung wide open. And we do that here. Because here we already have the most important thing in common. We seek to follow Jesus. We seek the love of Christ. We seek to draw closer to God. We gather around that foundation, flinging doors wide for one another, because that is what we do, what Jesus commands us to do. To love one another as he loved us, to love our neighbors as ourselves, to forgive 77 times. And while we do not agree on all issues or policies or candidates, we are united under the banner of Christ and will always be. That is what it is to be a Christian. And that's why church will be so important going forward. And oh yeah, it's stewardship season. Did you like that masterfully crafted segue? I know it's no surprise that I think church is really important. It's what I think about, all day long, every day. But I hope you think church is really important too. In the midst of so many other competing claims for our attention and time and resources, in the midst of a pandemic that has made many of our incomes uncertain or reduced or non-existent, if we can, I urge us to pledge generously to West Parish for the coming year, because we'll be strengthening a community that can literally do the impossible at this moment. Uniting divided people through allegiance to something greater and wider and deeper. Our lamps light the way to the kingdom of heaven, that realm for which we long, for which we work, where there is justice and wholeness for all. Our lights can cast away shadows. That's why stewardship season is not just a time to promise our money to our community, but a time to celebrate the truly remarkable, radical reality of the church. We are one. We are all God's beloved people. We are the body of Christ. When one hurts, we all hurt. When one rejoices, we all rejoice. No lamps will go out. No people will be left outside. Let us fling wide the doors. That is what the kingdom of heaven will be like. And here we glimpse that together. Let us gather in prayer.